Here are 25 hard truths about guitar. Truth 1. If you need to be motivated, you're fucked. Over the years, I've had many guitar players tell me that they're not motivated to play or practice. Sucks! But motivation comes in waves. It's not reliable, guitar chefs. If you have to rely on motivation to get better, then you're fucked because you're not going to be motivated 100% of the time. This means that we have two different options. Option 1 is to accept that we won't be motivated all the time and therefore only play when we feel like it. Or option 2, pick up your guitar despite not feeling motivated and rely on discipline as much as possible. I'm not saying one option is better than the other, but if you consciously decide which one you want to go with, you'll feel a lot less guilty about the frequency in which you practice. Truth 2. Your rhythm playing is probably worse than you think. First, let's get clear about what rhythm means. I don't mean playing chords for another guitar player to solo over. I mean literally playing rhythms in time. If you ask most guitar players to play a rhythm in time with a metronome, they can't do it. I see this all the time when I get students joining 52-week guitar player who have been playing for 10 years, but then struggle to play simple strum patterns in time with a metronome. Truth 3. Mastery is boring. This is why so few people become masters. Remember when we spoke about feeling motivated? And look, I'm not claiming to be a master myself. You can be the judge of that. Because the fact is, becoming a master takes years and years of monotonous practice. It's fine if you can't either. Just accept that being a master guitar player isn't for you. I think most people can accept this, but what they struggle to accept is the fact that they probably won't even be able to reach the level required to play their favorite solos. But don't worry, you can always consider taking up other hobbies like basket weaving or cigarettes. And here's what's really fun. Truth 4. Even if you become a master, no one really cares. How many of you guys know who Rusty Cooley is? What about Sean Lane? Hell, most of you guys probably don't even know who Pat Metheny is. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt though. You probably know Guthrie Govan, Paul Gilbert, and Yngwie Malmsteen. But how much of their music do you listen to? You see, all of these guys I just mentioned are masters. And you either don't know who they are or do know who they are but never listen to their music. You'd rather listen to Slash or Kirk Hammett or David Gilmour. And guess what? Those guys are not masters. Their music is more popular, but not because of their skill, it's because of the songs their band played. So yeah, being an elite level guitar player really isn't even that cool. Truth 5. Some people are naturally better than others. This is where the genetic lottery comes into play. You ever notice that some humans can run faster than others without any proper training? Some humans are taller than others, some are smarter, some are better looking. Well, guitar is no different. Your genetics play a role in your natural talent. Now, this does not mean that someone with less natural talent can't surpass someone with more natural talent, but this is just a hard truth, which is kind of the whole theme of this video. Truth 6. You don't love guitar as much as you think you do. Let me tell you guys something I've never told you before. When I was in high school, I was the best guitar player in my school and thought I loved guitar. Then when I got to music school, I realized the other students loved guitar way more than I did, and this was apparent because of their incessant practicing. I was never the best in music school. I had to put a lot of brute force into getting better because I didn't love it as much as some of the other guys did. It was actually crazy how much they loved guitar. Now, yes, I'm sitting here with a successful music career, but I know there are fuckers out there that love guitar way more than I do. My point is, if you loved guitar as much as you thought you did, you probably wouldn't be feeling uninspired all the time. You wouldn't only practice from passion bursts and then stop for weeks on end. You probably just like guitar, which is still fine, by the way. Truth 7. The better you get, the slower your progress appears. The fitness world actually has a term for this. It's called newbie gains. When you go from not being able to play anything to being able to play a 4-chord song, that is serious progress. When you successfully improvise a solo with the pentatonic scale, also serious progress. But when you practice the modes for the 1000th time and still struggle to sound musical in your solos, that appears to be very slow progress or no progress at all. And that's just guitar. It's normal. There's no need to get pissed off. Truth 8. If you're not consistent, you're not exceptional. It all comes down to how good you want to be. There's no right or wrong answers when it comes down to how much one should practice. The real question is, what are your goals? If you want to improvise a great solo in any key, then you've got to show up. That's not even an impossible goal, but depending on how good you want to be, you've got to put in the reps and be consistent. Truth 9. Years in does not equal skill. If you've been playing guitar for 20 years, I don't give a shit. That means nothing to me because I meet guys all the time that have been playing for 20 or more years and they still suck. What counts is what you do during that time. A serious and enthusiastic student can sound way better than a 20-year vet who never really tried. Truth 10. Most of your practice isn't actually practice. You're just playing. A lot of guitar players pick up their guitar every day. but they don't really practice. They just play what they already know. I'm sure a neuroscientist could explain what's happening in your brain when you sit down to noodle versus actively working toward a goal when you practice. Bottom line, they're not the same thing. Sitting down and being intentional about your practice requires pursuit of a goal, focus, and structure. If this is something you struggle with, consider enrolling in 52-Week Guitar Player. Not only will your practice routines be created by a professional, we'll even hold you accountable. We're currently closed until mid-September, but more on that later. Truth 11. You aren't as good as you think you are. The way you think you sound versus the way you actually sound are not the same thing. I encourage you to film yourself playing your favorite thing so you can confirm this. My students realize this when they record themselves for the first time. It's kind of like that study where people were asked about their driving ability and most considered themselves to be above average, but that's impossible. Most people cannot be above average. It's just another piece of evidence that confirms us humans are totally delusional and have a poor understanding of reality. Surprise, surprise. Truth 12. Nobody wants to hear your guitar playing or original music. A lot of guitar players have the goal of writing their own music, which is totally cool, but just keep in mind the fact that nobody actually wants to hear it. Also, ironically, a lot of these same guitar players don't want to post their music online. So I don't really know how you expect people to hear your music because they sure as shit aren't buying your album. Whatever your goals are, nobody wants to hear your original music. And by the way, I'm not making this video to purely destroy your dreams and discourage you and make you feel like shit. I'm just trying to shift the way you think. My hope is that there's at least one truth in this video that massively shifts your perspective for the better. I personally enjoy having my perspective changed because it allows me to understand reality on a deeper level. That's my goal for you! But moving forward, truth 13. You lose half your skill when you perform. If you've ever played for someone, you know this to be true. It's like 50% of your skill just immediately evaporates and you forget a bunch of shit. But it's because the conditions have changed. You're used to being in your own environment, in control, and judgment-free. But when you're thrown into a new environment, things change. I remember having a student perform for the first time. After he was done, I asked him if he felt like 50% of his skill disappeared. He said it was more like 80. Truth 14. There's always someone younger, faster, and more talented. Ah, yes, every musician fears the child prodigy. Everyone except me! They just have a way of making you feel like you wasted a bunch of time and also make you feel stupid. I am immune to these feelings because I somehow have a successful music career. But you've got to remember that kids today have people like me to learn from. If you're 45, you didn't have guys like me to learn from for free when you were 15. Damn kids these days have an advantage. The next generation always has an edge over their parents. I mean, people in the olden days used to prescribe heroin to cure coughing for fuck's sake, so what do you expect? Truth 15. You're emotionally attached to your bad habits. Just because you've been doing something in a specific way for a long time does not mean it's correct. It can be shitty when you realize you've been doing something incorrectly for years and then have to take a step backward to fix it. It literally feels like you're getting worse. But this is temporary and necessary to get to the next level sometimes. There were at least 2 moments like this in my journey when I had to change the way I held the pick. Both times I felt I was taking 1 step backward to take 2 steps forward. But both times I eventually got back to where I was and in a shorter time frame than I expected. Only a few months. Even right now, I've realized that my technique for fast alternate picking needs to be corrected, so I've been working on that. Truth 16. You use gear as a distraction. Gearheads really piss me off, but I'm not even mad. Looking at and buying new gear is not going to make you better. The best guitar players I know are not obsessed with gear. They're obsessed with playing. It's true that more expensive guitars can feel better and easier to play, but pedals and plugins ain't it, chief. Truth 17. You'll quit and return more than once. This is a very common path. You start when you're in high school, then you go off to college, get a career, have kids, start a family, and all that other obligatory shit. And then years later, you return to guitar. You gotta set it down due to your other commitments. The idea that you have commitments in your life other than guitar, I personally find to be insulting. Nobody really needs to make money. You can just go to California and be homeless and get paid by the government to play guitar. As for your children problem, I'm sure someone on the dark web would be kind enough to take them off your hands. This way you'll have more time to master guitar for no one to really give a shit anyway. Truth 18. Being different does not make you cool. Weird tones, odd time signature, strange solos, etc. I know some of you cool kids out there think 4/4 sucks and want to compose in 13/8 like your boy Pliny. The reality is though, you're probably just gonna write something that sucks. Even if it's good, no one wants to hear it anyway. And using weird ass tones for your guitar isn't cool either. My point is, I know you might want to be different, but there's probably more benefit in sticking to what works versus trying to make weird shit sound cool. Truth 19. You're not finding your voice. You're avoiding doing the work. This is just something people say to avoid studying the greats and putting in the actual work. work. I laugh when guitar players tell me they're working on finding their own voice after 1 year of playing. This applies more so in jazz. Even though I don't personally label myself as a jazz guitar player, I got a fucking degree in the genre. I actually made this mistake myself where I wouldn't transcribe or listen to the greats because I wanted to find my own voice. This was incredibly stupid of me because in order to tell my own stories, I first had to learn the language. I eventually realized this, but now whenever someone tells me that they don't want to learn from the greats and instead just find their own voice, I know they're full of shit, even though they themselves might not be aware. But now you are! So no more excuses. Truth 20. Your bad habits are somebody else's first impression. Out of tune bends, playing with bad time, general sloppiness. If this is the first time ever that someone hears you, they're gonna think you suck. Remember that. Truth 21. Exclusively saying I play by ear is a coping mechanism to avoid doing the work. When a guitar player says, I've been playing for 20 years, I just play by ear, what they're really saying is, I don't know shit about theory, or I've tried music theory but couldn't figure it out. And to that I say, this is fine. If you've only ever played by ear and it works for you and you're too stupid to understand theory, no disrespect. However, I will disrespect you if you use it as a subtle flex, because it's not a flex, it's a handicap. You see, playing by ear is just one way to do things, but people who play by ear exclusively tend to think that it's the only way. If you've ever met one of these people, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like an arrogance type of vibe. Truth 22. Multi-instrumentalists aren't that great. Now, there's always that one guy who learns multiple different instruments so he can play them all on his album. Yes, there are exceptions to this rule, but most motherfuckers are just distracted. People use this as a flex and write it in their Instagram bios that they play 5 different instruments. An experienced musician will look at that and understand that only one of those instruments is their primary, and chances are they suck at all the others. The man who chases 5 rabbits most certainly catches none. Someone who divides their time between 5 instruments is not going to be hired for the drummer gig versus someone who only practices drums. If you want to play 5 instruments, focus on one for a very long time and then move on to the next. Don't try learning them all at once. There's still so much I don't even know about guitar, and I've been practicing this instrument for more than half my life. Truth 23. Being in a band isn't cool anymore. You think it's cool because you want to be in one, but it's not as cool as you think. I know people that tour around or have toured around, and most of them describe it as an unpleasant experience. It's a lot of travel. Your nutrition and sleep suffers. It's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of setting things up and taking things down. Also, there's less demand now than there was in the 80s to see live shows. So unless you're super hyper mega popular, tours aren't even that profitable. The only good thing about touring is the actual performing part. Everything aside from that is just a logistical pain in the ass. So even though you may like the idea of being in a band, in actuality, you'd probably find it to be a miserable experience. Truth 24. Playing well does not mean you'll be heard. The music industry is not just about playing well. I think this is where a lot of artists struggle because this is not what they signed up for. You got into music to make music, not to manipulate algorithms to your favor. But whether you like it or not, this is just how the game works. Talent is not enough. The only way talent is enough is if you're a hot girl and every dude is trying to help you because they secretly want to fuck you. Just being real. Most of you guys watching this are men, so consider teaching yourself marketing if you're serious about getting your music heard. And truth 25. Guitar gets harder as you age, but so does everything. Father Time is undefeated. I am the only person that will defeat Father Time, and that is by opting out of death. After some thought, I've realized that dying is simply not for me. It is a lifestyle choice that I simply cannot get behind. I won't judge you if that's the path you decide to take, but I will not be joining you. Hilarious fucking jokes by me aside, guitar does get harder as you age. If you start guitar when you're 10, you'll pick things up way faster than someone who's starting at 40. It's not too late though. You can still achieve your goals with the proper guidance. You just don't have much time to waste because, as I'm sure you know, the older you get, the faster time seems to pass by. Getting personalized feedback from a professional is a great way to speed up the process. If this sounds interesting to you, I invite you to sign up to the 52-Week Guitar Player waiting list. 52-Week Guitar Player is a guitar program I created in 2019. In this program, you will receive structure, practice routines, feedback, accountability, live interaction with pros, and big fun in the sun. Unlike every other guitar course on the internet, 52-Week Guitar Player is personalized. We still have an organized lesson curriculum to solve your problem of having no structure, but as you go through it and do the practice routines, you will receive feedback in video form from a pro. This is guaranteed in 52-Week Guitar Player. We're currently closed for enrollment until mid-September, and we'll only be taking 100 new students when we reopen. We just closed on June 30th, so now is a super early time to get on the waiting list. You have nothing to lose by signing up to the waiting list. Even if you decide not to enroll, at least you'll have the option. Whereas if you never signed up to the waiting list, you may not even get that chance. If you've already seen enough and you're ready to commit, we have a 90-day refund policy as well, so there is zero risk. I have nothing left to say. Now just leave!